Welcome to the ABCs of Horses, a Big Blend radio podcast featuring Christy Wood, a world champion horse trainer, a carded horse show judge, an equestrian expert, and an author. So happy New Year, everyone. This is a first of the 2025 episodes of the ABCs of Horses with Christy Wood. And today we're on the J. We're starting on 2025 with judging. You're not supposed to have judgment, but apparently we're going to go and get into judgment today. And we're going to see if you can get carded. Are you 18? Can you be judged? Christy, weigh in on this. How are you? Welcome.
I'm fine, and Happy New Year to everybody. It's 2025. How exciting.
I'm excited. I love New Year's because it feels like we're all turning a new chapter, turning the page.
Yeah.
It's refreshing. It's exciting.
It's just like you just stepped out of the shower, right? We all started.
Hey, listen, if you're a horse person, we all want to get in that shower at the end of the day,
Yeah.
right? Your muscles want it. You want the dirt out of your nose.
Right.
But judging, like, this is an important thing. And you talk about getting carded. So it really isn't about whether you're 18 or not, right? Being carded.
Well, you need to be at least 21 before you apply.
And
you need a ton of experience. So I doubt you're going to have too much experience at 21 even to apply, but it just depends on your involvement in the horse industry.
So judging, you're a judge,
Yes,
right? You're a world champion horse judge. So when we talk judging, are we talking show jumping, dressage, barrel racing? Do you do specific things as a judge?
Yeah, let's go ahead and break it down that when you get to be approved judge, and we'll start at the beginning and talk about that in just a minute, but being an approved judge, you usually are approved with a specific breed of horse. And that might be where your interest lies. It might be the quarter horse first or the paint horse first. And that's maybe where you have most of your experience, and that's where you will apply. So you apply with every different breed association that is nationally recognized in the United States. There are some also that are have associate memberships in, like the Apple's Horse Club has clubs in New Zealand and Germany and Australia and every place else, in Italy and places like that. But you get carded with a specific breed, and then within that breed, all these wonderful breeds of horses are very talented, and they're shown in English events, Western events, driving events, cattle events, even some dressage, saddle seat pleasure, driving. There's just so many events. So when you're carded with that one particular breed, you need to be versatile enough and know enough about judging all of those different events, within that breed.
So it goes by breeds. And like I know you're a world champion horse trainer, and that goes into jumping, trail rides. Like you do the Chief Joseph trail ride, progressive 13-year ride, everyone. And you've got to go get the book. I have it. Thank you for sending it. Hoofprints Across Time, everyone, a trail ride to remember. I have it. Nancy and I have, in fact, we've been fighting over it. And I love the scarf. By the way, just side note here.
Yes, very detailed to help you follow along with the book.
No, you know what? We travel full time, so we can't have a lot of stuff, but there's something magic and special about it. We both look at it and we're like, this is a special, because that, and you're talking about breeds, you're talking Appaloosa horses. So that's a special breed that we started the podcast even with as the Appaloosa. But you're carded in 7 breed associations. So
let's backtrack a little bit. I've been carded with 12 breeds at one time.
Wow.
But when you're carded with that many breeds at one time, you don't see your family very much. And this was several years ago as well, when the economy was just a little better and the horse show industry was a little bit stronger. And I was gone sometimes 35 weekends out of a year.
That's a lot.
And it's not just in the United States, Lisa. It's also I judge internationally. So I have been to Australia and Germany and New Zealand and England and Italy. It's been a great career and just so enjoyable.
And you get to travel and you get to meet horses and the people.
Yes.
Right. So I know this from Nancy and I back in our days with horses in South Africa, when we thought you could just get into a dressage and walk your horse around and talk to the judges. No, you can't. Dressage is a big deal. It is. It is more disciplined than anything I know.
Yes, it is
We're
very
so
good.
disciplined. And Nancy starts talking to the horse. She's like, hi to the one judge, and everybody's telling her, shh. They're trying to help her, like, shh, you don't know what you're doing. And she's like, hi, y'all. Even
Yeah.
though we were in Africa, we had the hi, y'alls. You can't do that. So
Well,
the judging,
there's protocol for every discipline within each breed. There's, certain things you need to do within your class and your expertise and showing and your in the discipline that you ride. So there's protocol for a lot of things. And yes, it's respect, honestly, that you don't approach the
mm-hmm.
judge during that horse show. But if you have the ring steward could possibly talk to the ring steward and say, I'd love to ask the judge a certain question. Possibly at the end of that day or during the lunch break, you can approach a judge, but you need to do that through the proper channels, which would be a ring steward or the show manager.
Yeah. Wow.
Because it's not
So
so much that
okay, wait,
I want to, yeah,
can I
so
go
let me
back
just
a
finish that
second?
really quick.
No,
It's
go
just
ahead.
not that you want to ask a question about judging. And I would be more than happy to answer a certain question, but it's also the perception, Lisa, and this is real important. People understand about judging. You're standing on the rail watching this, and all of a sudden you see the judge, who I may have a very good friend that came to the horse show, it's not even showing, that says hi to me. And if I approach that person on the rail and say hello, no one's going to know that that's a friend that lives in another state somewhere. They're going to think we're talking about the show. They're going to think that that's preferential treatment, that
Mm-hmm.
I'm acknowledging this person. So really a judge needs to, in a sense, needs to be sequestered from everybody so that everybody considers that judgment and that judging that day is fair. So it's
Okay.
perception.
Yeah. So you're
People
not,
throw
you're
that
not,
perception in, which could be incorrect, but we have to be careful of that.
you don't want to have, yeah, because it could be, oh, they know the sister who's riding, over here. So I want to go back to the breed thing though.
Okay.
So when we did our thing, we really had no clue, right? You know that. So we had no clue about what we were doing, but we were just actually trying to get our horses we were learning, let's put it that way. We were learning and we were bonding with our horses
Mhm.
and getting them to, especially mine that was abused, as you know, and trying to get them into different scenarios. So it was more about that for us. So we didn't really mind getting penalized for things or whatever, and people knew that. It was learning. We didn't know everything yet, and sometimes you have to go through the school of hard knocks for that. But the judges, so were they there? So do you have a panel of judges per event, each one doing a breed, or are the events breed specific? Because I don't remember ours being breed specific, because I don't think we'd be allowed in with our horses at that point with ours. So I know this is a different country, but how does that part work?
Well, so there are the different types of shows. And again, we're talking specifically for breeds, but you may have a horse that isn't registered, which is not a problem whatsoever, as long as you have a talented horse and you're willing to work at what you need to do to show your horse correctly. And you'll learn that, number one, by working with the trainer. Or actually number two, if you're interested in a specific breed, you need to join that breed association and get their rule book. Exhibitors need to read the rule book, the same rule book that the judges read. So if you don't
Mm.
understand how these different classes are judged, then you really should enlist the help of a trainer, somebody that's very knowledgeable, to teach you what you're expected to do in that specific class that you want to show in. Now, there's also open shows, which are a lot of fun to judge because open shows allow all the breeds to show together. We're not interested in registration papers. You can show Appaloosas and draft horses and paint horses and mules and minis all in the same class if it happens to be a halter class, let's say for geldings. And I've had that. It's been enjoyable to see a draft horse walk in and the next horse that walks in is a miniature horse because they're categorized by gender, which the gelding is. It's a neutered male horse. And you can show that horse against any horse that you want in that specific class. So in order to judge those open shows too, though, you have to have some knowledge of each one of those breeds that could possibly show up. That's why I had
Wow.
12 cards.
Well, wait a minute. And can I just say that this, I believe, aligns with one of your books. You've got Your Best Horse Show, a guide for managers and exhibitors.
Yes.
Does that cover judges too and getting the right judge for the right show?
Yes. So that is a book that a club that wants to put on an event to be successful. And it's basically a how-to book to manage your people, your volunteers, your club, and what you need to do to be successful in having people show up and enough people to pay the bills and to make it fun for the exhibitors. And yes, there is a chapter in there about hiring judges. You hire judges that are usually carded. Even if it's an open show, you want a carded judge that has experience, especially to judge all the different breeds. And then you need to take care of your judge. You don't leave him at the airport, which has happened to me before. And you can't run that horse show unless the judge is there. And there's just certain things you need to know about hiring judges and how to write a contract for that judge to show up and do their job to be the judge for your show.
So let's talk about becoming a judge, because do we get to wear the big Judge Judy cloaks? I think not. Do we get to wear a wig?
I'm not going to be in a black
I want the
wig.
I want the wig.
Actually, I did that for a Halloween costume one day. I did show up as a judge, and I had the black robe and the white wig. Remember the George Washington-looking wig?
That's exactly.
That was fun.
I love watching English stuff when they have the wigs, and they did that when we lived in Africa. The judges wore wigs, and that was funny. I always thought it was just what are we doing? Why are we wearing wigs in court? I don't get it. I still don't get it, but it's entertaining to me. But to become a show judge, what is it that when we look at the qualities, someone wants to do that because that's a career choice, right? To become a judge. That's the most.
It sort of comes with the territory as far as a career. No one wakes up and says, I want to be a horse show judge. But you think in that direction with the experience that you have with horses. So maybe the best thing to do is for me to go back to my very first experience with that or exposure to that. And I was showing at many open shows with my Appaloosas and my paints and other horses that I had, just at open shows, having fun. And I wanted to improve my riding skills. So my mother enlisted this wonderful trainer. His name is Ray McMullen, and he actually worked for Hughes Aircraft Company and worked for my dad during the day. And then on the weekends, he was an excellent, excellent trainer, taught me how to jump over fences and ride the English style successfully. But he was also a horse show judge. And so working with him, he would show me the finer points of horses. And we've talked about this in a few podcasts before about form to function and how horses correctly put together in order to perform and to work for you or to carry you on the Chief Joseph Trail ride and do all the wonderful things you want to do with your horse. So I learned from Ray quite a bit. And then he was going to go judge a horse show one weekend and asked me to go along to be his ring steward. And a ring steward is a person that will stand in the center of the arena with the judge and assist him by doing the gait calls, meaning asking the horses to walk, trot, or lope, or jog to the announcer. And so that's my responsibility. He would tell me, and then I would, over a microphone, would tell, or a walkie-talkie, would tell the announcer what to call. I would hand his cards in after he judged every class, just assist him in the arena the best that I could. If he needed a cup of coffee or a glass of water, I'd go get that for him. So what was really fun about that day is Ray asked me, he said, Christy, I want you to judge every class alongside me while you're out here. And at the end of each class, we will talk. Let's see what your placings are, and we'll talk about it. And I actually matched his picks for first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And about 95% of the classes he and I matched.
Wow.
So he was an excellent trainer, but then I also had an eye for this. And that's what he said. It's not everybody can just walk into this and understand form to function and how a horse is put together. And again, how each horse is going to move a little differently for Western compared to the English classes or jumping or cutting a cow. There's just so much to know within each breed. So, you work your way up the ladder. You go to a lot of shows and actually donate your time saying, can I judge your little open show for you to get some experience? And, I'll just work for lunch and you can see how well I can do. Or, if you don't like me very much, you probably won't ask me back again. So you have to get your foot in the door. You also can ask to work alongside as a ring steward with several judges. And again, watch how they handle the class, how they handle the arena situation. I mean, there's a lot going on that you have to be responsible for. And it was just a great experience to work my way up the ladder. And then by doing that, I had quite a few show managers that really enjoyed how I judged, how I got along with the exhibitors, how I gave in the open shows, we have a little more flexibility and we're able to talk to exhibitors and help them, give them a few little pointers to help them understand how they possibly could do a little better. And that's where clinics come in. Actually, you can go to clinics and sometimes hold a clinic before a horse show or afterwards and help people understand how to show better.
Well,
And that's
and
what
also,
happened.
what about volunteering too? Being a
Oh, of course.
volunteer.
Of course, you
That
can
to me
volunteer.
is volunteering is such a good thing for, sometimes, if someone's in between careers or, jobs, volunteer because that's good for your resume too, in as a whole, right?
Well, that's
Even
true, but really the
Mhm.
best experience is to be in that center ring because the
Okay.
perspective of how a judge sees things from the center of that ring is going to be different than your approach or what you see from standing on the rail. So the
Mm.
best thing to do is to be a ring steward to assist to be. Now we call our assistants actually scribes because when we're judging
Oh, wow.
specific classes, it's all about numbers that we match to a maneuver a horse is going to do. And so instead of us dropping our eyes down and writing that particular number on a piece of paper and missing something that an exhibitor can be doing, we just tell it to our scribe, and our eyes are never off the exhibitor. So we have a scribe that is sitting next to us and recording what we say and the numbers that we
Hmm.
need to put down. So that's the best place that you can also learn is by volunteering to be a scribe and assist the judge as the judge is judging.
I feel like we're in a castle. Where's the king and queen? I get the scribe. I want the joker, but yeah, well, that's where you get to have the clowns at the rodeo, right? You get to have them.
I
They
know
can be
about
the
that.
joker, but but no, but it does sound like it. But so this is interesting. So when you become a judge, this is like part of your career. This is part of your business as
Well, yes, it
someone
definitely
who's a
goes hand in hand. I mean, I'm a professional trainer and I train. And what's really great about my students is they get to learn from a judge. I mean, it couldn't be any better than that, honestly, because I stand center ring one weekend judging another horse show out of state somewhere. And, they get to learn from the eyes, really the
mm,
sharp eyes of a judge. And it gives them, I think, an advantage. If they're serious
mm.
enough about it, they're going to do very well. And several of my students have done very well.
So when you're looking at hiring someone, we talked about instruction last month, and it's about the horse and the rider. So if the person you're looking to go for classes and instruction,
Mhm.
because it's both, right? It's connected. Um, you go for someone who they've got an experience as a judge, that would be a feather in the cap, right?
If
To get,
yes, if your interest is the show arena. Now,
oh,
nothing
okay.
wrong. There's nothing wrong with taking lessons if you want to go ride a mountain trail from a person
Yeah.
like myself that happens to be a judge because I do all of that. And again, it maybe in helping you buy a horse, it all fits in together. Knowing conformation, knowing how horses move, knowing how they're put together, dispositions, personalities, all of that comes together, whether I'm judging or giving instruction or training or breaking a young horse. So it just
Mm.
all sort of goes hand in hand, and it's exciting to go out of state and out of the country and look for all these perfect horses. You want to pick the best horse each day in each class, and it's just so enjoyable to do that.
And so you do charge a fee because why should you travel across the country or into a different country for free, right? So this is a business.
Yes, it
Being
is. Yes,
clear.
yes.
Yes. Well, no, I think it's important because, I'll just use this example. Musicians will go out and go, all right, we've got a new band. We'll go play in the local pub and they can give us food and beer. And you can get caught into that trap if you don't start elevating. And you need to start elevating. You can't be a cover band who plays, Freebird forever.
Well, Lisa,
I mean, you
I think
can if that's your goal.
yeah,
But
what
if
you're
your
saying
goal
there.
is to do your own stuff, you need to elevate and not be stuck in that little comfort zone.
Well,
So,
you need to make a commitment to make a business out of it.
mhm,
Yeah, so and that's why my book, Your Best Horse Show, explains that. You need to have a contract with that judge. Yes, the judge gets paid a daily fee, even some overtime fees, and we are paid the minute we leave our house. I mean, the mileage to the airport and airport parking and the hotel, meals, and like I said, the day fee, airline travel, whatever's
mhm,
involved is the expenses of the club. So the club needs to prepare for that, obviously have a budget for that. Um, and you shop
mm.
around for good flights and nothing wrong with flying coach. As long as I'm going anywhere to a horse show, it doesn't bother me a bit to fly coach. if I want to upgrade to first class, I'll do that on my own dollar. But um,
Yeah.
yeah, yes, we're paid for what we do. We're paid because we're an expert in what we do, and they're hiring us for our expertise.
I love that. I just always, I'm a business person in that way of like, okay, you're going to do this, and then you've got to get some actual experience, like you're saying, get in the ring, but then also you don't need to start off with the highest rate, right? So you want to begin, like if you're still newish at it, maybe don't go in at the top
No, of
show,
course
right?
not. You're
Maybe
sure.
start a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but once you're carded, yes, your name is on a list, and anybody can go to that list. It depends on what breed they're looking for. If you're going to have it be a paid horse judge, and there's a paid horse club that wants to put on a show, they're going to hire from that list. That's actually required. That's in the rule book that you need to hire your judges from the carded list of that particular breed.
So
And
you have the carded list, so that's important.
it's a carded list of
And
every breed.
And then you need to stay up to date, right? Because there's rules and rules can change. So do you have to stay educated
Right.
on rule changes?
Yeah, so let's go back. Let's go back track
Hmm.
again to going forward from donating my time to judge a few shows to get enough experience that I could actually fill out the application. And the Appaloosa Horse Club was the breed that I chose to go
Okay.
try to get my card first with them because I was more involved with that particular breed. You need to fill an application. You need to have references from show managers, possibly other judges that you have scribed for. You need a lot of references. And once your application is sent in, they will read through the applications, see what your experience is. Have you been in the show arena? Have you shown yourself? Have you won some championships? I mean, all of that helps with your resume to request to be a
Hmm.
judge. If you get accepted, then you actually have to go to a judge's applicant school. So we go back usually to either Texas or Oklahoma, and matter of fact, the first one I think I did was in New Mexico, and we have to be tested. And when you are tested, you're actually tested with live judging. You need to judge an actual mock horse show, as we call it, with maybe 4 to 6 exhibitors in each class. And your answers need to answer the top judge they have brought in to judge those classes as well, just to make sure that you know what you're doing.
Mm.
Okay, so once you do the live judging, then we had a rule book test, and the rule book had about 250 questions, and it was a
Ooh.
closed book test. So you better study your rule book for that particular breed.
This is starting like to sound like the DMV, man, are actually more intricate. I don't think
I
we
don't know
had
about the
250
DMV, but to me it
questions.
sounds like trying to pass the bar to be an attorney. I mean, it's really,
That's what I'm
my
thinking.
brother's an attorney, so he told me about the
250
test he took.
questions. What do you, whoa, but this is a big deal because again, it's the breeds, it's the rules, it's like the horse, it's also the rider, right? When you're
Well,
judging as a pure
that's why you
horse
want a
or,
carded judge. You want a carded judge that has the experience, has the knowledge, and can fairly judge everybody for that specific class or that specific show. So once you do the rule book test, I'm not even finished yet, then we have an oral interview on ethics. And I think that's real important because
that. I love that. I love that.
I think that's real important. You need to sort of be, above reproach, and you have to be solid in your answers. You also have to know that if somebody asks you a question, you have to have reasons why. And your reasons why are going to go back to the rule book. Once in a while, personal preference might come into
Mm.
that a little bit. But again, it's all about what's in that rule book. So I might like a horse that moves a little better and maybe from the knee or not from the knee. And some other judges might like a horse because he's put together better and has a prettier jaw or a longer neck. So all of those are allowed with our own personal preference, but we do have guidelines from the rule book that we follow.
Mm.
And once you pass
Wow.
all 3 of those tests, then you become a carded judge. Congratulations. And your name is on the list. And then you're eligible for hiring. So going back to saying, charging a fee, yes, when you're your first year out there, you're not going to charge, thousands of dollars to judge. You're going to come in at a lower pay scale because you do want to get a few shows. And then you work your way up the ladder by the number of
Mm.
shows you judge every year. And you can increase your fee if you need to. Now, you also have to keep in mind the economy we're in today. And horse shows have changed from 20 years ago to what we have now, Lisa. And
Mm.
we're losing a lot of clubs. There's a lot of young people that don't want to put a lot of effort into showing and hauling their horse and working hard at doing something really well because honestly, these little handheld devices give you instant gratification, and not everybody wants to work hard at doing something like that and going to the barn and taking time to invest and
Yeah.
know your horse really well. But anyway, shows have changed. A lot of shows are getting smaller. Some clubs have disbanded, or some clubs are getting
Wow.
together, like the POAs and the Appaloosas get together. The Pinos have shows with paints. We even, at an Appaloosa show a couple of years ago, we had Pino classes and miniature horse classes.
Oh,
So it's
wow.
really, yeah, it's really fun. So in order to judge all of that, you need a multi-carded judge who knows how to judge pintos, miniatures, and Appaloosas.
Wow.
So that's
Well,
why I
that,
was carded with 12 different breeds at one time.
wow. Well, and so do you have to renew your carding like every year or something? Like how often do
Yes,
you have to do these
yes.
tests? I mean,
So let me
do you
tell.
do
So let me
one
tell you.
test?
Yes.
Yeah,
So let me
what
tell you.
happens?
We have to go every 3 years to a judges seminar, and it's actually used to be called the CBC, which meant the Color Breed Council, because all the color breeds would get together, like the Palominos, paints, pintos, buckskins, Appaloosas. The miniatures were there, and what was nice about that is all of the judges could go to one location, and we all could get renewed at the same time. And it was really very cost effective for everybody involved. And so we still
Mm,
do that. We still have to go every 3 years, but sometimes we have to go to different locations, possibly Oklahoma or Texas for the different breeds now. But we have to get recertified every 3 years. So yes, because the rules change, we things have changed in the industry, and those are it's very important that the judges attend those. If you don't attend that, you're not going to get renewed.
wow. So this is like an investment in time and but it could be, really again as a trainer can really help you too, not just on the judging and being able to earn income that way, but as a trainer that can help you depending on who your students are and what you
And what
specialize
the
in.
showing, what horse. Yeah, sure. The rules are real important now. Most of the clubs today, especially with all the Zoom that people can do, there's a breed that's coming up in next week that's going to have a Zoom meeting for all of its members, including judges, to sit in because they have some new rule changes. So it's beneficial for everybody. And what's wonderful is they open that
Wow.
up to the membership so the membership can sit in and listen because we want the membership to be as knowledgeable, really, as the
Mm-hmm.
judges. That's why that rule book is so important. I can't emphasize that enough that you get the rule book for the breed of choice that you want to show. And pretty much they're standard. There's going to be a few small differences between the breeds, but and that same rule book will actually carry over to open shows because we pretty much all judge the same way in a Western pleasure class and an English pleasure class.
Wow. Wow. This is it's fascinating to me because, I was just like, let me go do this and see what happens. We didn't win anything. We won a fancy dress costume thing for our horse, but that was actually a big deal because my horse was so spooked by everything after being abused by a polo rider. And even to go in a crowd or go onto an open field, that's why we did it. And
Huh?
everyone knew, and we had to get approved to do that, right? So everybody knew this was a training thing. And
Good.
for me to wear, I went as a gypsy with a guitar on the horse.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
dressed as a gypsy because I had flowing clothes, like a flowing thing
Yes.
over my head, whatever. And that was spooky for her. But I trained with her because she was spooked about anything moving. Like if there was a plastic bag, she freaked, right? So this whole event that we went to got her like it was healing,
Good.
you know? And
Hmm.
it was a training exercise, like kind of with a deadline. So as
Hmm.
humans, the horses don't care about deadlines, but as
Hmm.
humans went, oh, we need to do this by then. So you didn't become lax in the training of the horse and yourself. And
We'll
so,
allow that as a judge and even the show management. It's more show management that will allow that, and that's fine. They let us know that they may have a horse that's coming in to be schooled. And usually what happens is that the person will have a number on its back, but the number's upside down. So you know which person is schooling. That's perfectly fine as long as you don't disrupt the class.
no, we weren't.
Yes, you do
No, we
need to
did
have
talk to the judges.
exposure. That's why the open shows are really a benefit for getting a good foundation on a horse where you can go and it's not as costly and you can go expose your horse to a lot more things than the upper echelon of a breed show. It's going to be a lot more
No,
costly.
this was not a big, listen, this was our hometown little show, okay? Like
Mhm.
seriously, hometown little show. But the etiquette thing really I wanted to touch on that because we've talked on other shows, we've seen some things that we didn't like. I think it was one of the trainers like kicked the horse in the chest, which Nancy and I got up and like, we will remove you now. You don't do that. That is not part of training. That is not how you teach a horse in our minds. So for a judge, does a judge, you stay in your seat. You don't go out and show people what to do, right? You
Well, no, I'm not going to leave that arena. My job's there to stay in the center of the arena and judge. But let me tell you this: there are a lot of people, a lot of different breeds, and that's part of my horse show management book. Is some breeds have stewards that will show up for that particular breed, and the steward is the person on the show grounds that will enforce abuse or take care
mm,
of somebody that is showing some abuse to a horse. That's not allowed. Now, if I happen to glance out of my arena judging when I'm judging and I see someone kick a horse, I'm going to keep judging, but I'm going to see that. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be writing down whatever color jacket he has and the color description of
you're
that
gonna
horse.
get him. Yeah,
I
you're
will
like
give that
us.
to my
Yeah.
ring steward. My ring steward's going to take that to the show manager, and I'm going to say, please take care of this. Yeah, because
Mm.
I'll be able to see something, but I can't leave my position in the center of that arena. Now, what happens in that arena is also mine. I have complete control over that. So that's totally not allowed. Or
So if the
oh,
rider, what if
and
the
now we've
riders,
asked people to leave
yeah.
before that have been abusive in the arena, the show arena. That's totally not allowed.
So you can, if you see someone doing something, because I remember watching people trying to get their horses to rise and buck, rear up and do like, look at me trying to control my horse. And I go, you obviously have no control.
You know,
And you know
it
what I
goes
mean?
back to the rule book, Lisa. There's rules, there are ethical rules. A horse show is a place to come and have a lot of fun with a lot of people, um, and make it an enjoyable event. If you're not there to showboat, you're not there to say, hey, look, I can teach my horse to rear. Honestly, there's no class that I know of that I've ever judged walking into the
Mm,
arena where I'm going to judge anybody who horses will rear. That's not safe. I mean, you have to use common sense. Maybe we should say horse sense, but that's not something that should be done at any show because a rearing horse is going to trigger other horses to be on alert that something's wrong.
exactly.
So it's not
Something is,
safe. It's just
yeah.
not safe. It's just not done. And if somebody's going to even attempt that, uh, they're going to be asked to leave and they're going to be
I
asked.
did tell you this is a small horse town kind of thing, right? Small town, hometown kind of show. So we saw so much, we did trainings and group coaches and all of that. And through that, we saw how people kind of, it was interesting. Let's put it that way. Now, I do want to ask you this on the etiquette side, because I have no clue. And I'm sure there's a lot of listeners maybe who are very new in this world of horses, just love horses that are listening. Um, so in horse racing, we hear a lot about drugs and steroids and things like that. Does that happen in other kind of shows that you've been in where, I mean, is there an etiquette on what people are doing with their horses
Oh, yes.
in
Oh,
regards to
yes.
that or
Every,
not?
yes. Every breed association, and this is not just the registered breed associations, it could be an open show club that wants to just put on a horse show. Um, the state of California is going to govern everything that happens with horses.
Mm,
It's for protection of the horses as well. So we actually pay a drug fee at every horse show that you go to, and some are a little more steep than others. And that fee is to pay an inspector that's going to come out and observe different horses at a horse show and probably do a test on that. Any horse they choose, it could be a third place horse, it could be the first place horse, and they'll either ask the horse to urinate and do a urine sample or they'll draw blood. And they have the right to walk up to you and ask to test your horse and randomly. But we know that there will be some drug officials possibly showing up. Sometimes they don't show up. We don't know that. But definitely at the higher shows, meaning the world show, the up on the ladder,
hmm
everybody wants to get to the world and national shows for all of their specific breeds. That is definitely horses are tested constantly.
Wow.
And there's rules in the rule book. That's why I'm going to go back to the rule book again. There are a lot of jugs that are not allowed. There are a few that might be for specific reasons, and you better have a good letter from your veterinarian saying why this horse has to have that done. But if your horse is on some drugs, you need to declare that because you has to be usually has to be out of the horse's system 24 hours before you show. So there are rules to keep these animals safe. Let's let
No
them.
pot smoking
And
for
what's
your
the point of
horses.
why do you
I'm
want to
just
have a
kidding.
horse that's in pain anyway or is
Yeah,
uncomfortable? Shame on you. You shouldn't be doing that. So,
good point. That I had to bring that up because I know there's people thinking, well, we always just think horse racing, but what about show jumping and, all of these other things that, hey, my horse is a little lame, but I'm going to give it a steroid and a big painkiller and still make it do it, you know?
well, if you do that and your horse gets chosen to be tested and you get tested, that trainer, that rider, the barn that horse came from are all going to be suspended. That's how
Oh,
serious
wow.
it is.
So
Yeah.
the actual home of that horse is going to be,
Everybody involved with that horse is going to be
oh, that's
suspended.
fantastic. No, I
Yeah.
think it's good.
Yeah.
But, it's the same as sports, right? We shouldn't,
Well,
it,
of
it,
course.
it
Yeah.
just have a clean body, you
Right.
know? Yeah. It's, and I think we're getting better at that now, just in general. I think we're getting better. I don't know, but like it feels that way just in music, even. Half the musicians I interview are having smoothies before they go on a show, instead of shooting up, it just feels like our society in one part. In the other part, obviously we have some major problems still in the country, but it feels like maybe we're getting a little bit better.
Well,
What do
Lisa,
you
we need
think?
to be real careful about this because the animal rights folks would love to shut us all down. Their thoughts are all these horses need to be turned loose and let them be free, and it's cruel what we do. So horses love to perform. They are, some do and some don't. I mean, obviously, if they don't, there's a reason why. Maybe they're being
Yeah,
pushed
don't
too
do it then.
hard. They're carrying too much weight. Who knows what the reason is? But most horses, it's a pleasant experience for them. There's harmony between you and that the rider, the horse and the rider. And so they're happy with what they're doing. But we're being constantly watched by animal rights people, and we need to be careful what we're doing. So we need to police
Mhm.
our own. This is important. You see something happening, you go to the show manager. You don't have to get involved. You
Okay.
don't have to go up and point your finger at that person. You get some person
Hmm.
involved with that show that's managing that show. You can report what
Mm.
you see and get that taken care of. We need
Yeah,
to
and it
protect our
shouldn't
horses.
be either. It shouldn't be happening. Going back to the joy for the horse. I know we touched on this last episode or the one before, Nancy's horse Surtees. We had the show jumps set up in the paddock for him, corral, whatever you want to call it in this country, I mean, big land. We had a lot of land. And he loved the jumps. He would go out in the morning, get out of the stable and just, have his, food and would go and do the jumps on his own. And when she did this, this one show, right? Again, we were just new, we were naive would be the good word for Nancy and I, but they did let us in, but he won. He won the show.
No, that's
And
good.
she had no clue what she was doing on his back, but he took her. She held on for dear life, and that retired, Flemish cart horse did those jumps like you wouldn't believe, and
Um,
he loved it. He was
mhm,
retired, but he went it, and then once he was done with it, and they stopped time because it was done by timing.
mhm.
More, about that. I don't, but
Yes.
they did the time. He just kind of looked at everybody, stopped, looked at everybody, and went and did the whole. You have a route that you're supposed to follow or whatever, and he
Yeah,
did
of
the whole
course.
thing backwards.
Mhm.
And he was like, look at me. I still got it. I may be retired, but I got it. And Nancy's like, what the hell's going on? you know? So don't tell me horses don't enjoy to perform because
Mhm.
I know from our own experience that horse loved it. And he was named after a race car driver. But anyway, he loved it. So I think it is about horse and rider knowing each other and building that relationship that we've talked about and training the instruction we talked about last time. It is
Mhm.
about that.
Yes.
And if your horse isn't good for that kind of show, don't do it, right? Don't, drugs aren't the way,
Yeah, the really
hitting a
good,
horse isn't the way.
yeah.
Sometimes it just isn't. Some people like geography, some people don't. You know what I mean?
The really good horsemen and horsewomen that have a horse brought to them for training, and someone will have an idea. Let's say I want to get into working cow horse. Well, the horse may not have enough cow sense. The horse might be better doing trail obstacles. You need to find what that horse is the best at, and you go with that. You cannot force that horse to do something that it wasn't either bred for or doesn't have an interest or the athletic ability. So if you're sensitive to that, you got to find the harmony in what that horse does best.
Like my horse Cinnabar would not be good on the Chief Joseph trail ride. Heck no. No, she wouldn't. But she's the sweetest horse, So I think, this is such a good conversation. I love these shows, Christy, because you bring back all these memories for me of horses and what we, did and went through having them and that partnership. But it is attention to detail.
Yes.
And the judging part, I believe, it's attention to detail for the rider, the trainer, and the judge, right?
I'm glad you said that, because you know what? I can end our conversation here a little bit about that. I've got a really cute little story. My mother went to watch me judge a horse show one time. And she was watching, and she never showed, but she knew what I did, and she'd observed enough, and she's watched me win a lot of classes and shows in competing. And she was watching this one class, and they did a call of who won, and all of a sudden they called out who was first place and who was second place and third on. And so I went over and visited with her during the lunch break, and she said, "How did you ever decide between that first and second place rider? Those two riders were so perfect in everything that they did. How did you choose?" And I told my mother this, and she's told this story so many times. I told her it was the placement of their thumbs. She said, "What?"
Oh,
yeah, they were holding Rommel reins, and one girl had her thumb sticking straight up like she was hitchhiking. The other one had it down and softly wrapped around the other fingers. I said, "That's the girl that won, because that's the proper way to hold that rein."
That's how I learned how to do it too. No matter what, whether Western or not, you go in alignment. Wow.
Yeah, so my mother was just amazed. The thumb was the tiebreaker for me.
But that was the that extra attention to detail.
Right.
You know
what you want to be judged by. You want to be judged by somebody that has that experience and
did the work.
Those things. Yeah. So you really know when you win something, you've won well under that particular judge.
That is amazing. Christy, when I want to tell you this about you're talking about holding the reins. Nancy's middle finger is broken, not from being in traffic with me on the road. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Her middle finger got broken, and this is how. She was riding my horse Cinnabar. And you know how they say, let go of the reins if you get bucked off or you're going to fall? Well, apparently she didn't learn that lesson. She got dragged. She got dragged.
Oh,
so, yeah, you learn. And then she never made that mistake again. But her middle finger is still wonky to this. It's wonky from Cinnabar and being dragged. Because you don't hold on to the reins if you get dropped. You don't. As you know, we pet sit as we travel the country. And I was laughing because we did this pet sit. I was up in Virginia area, Alexandria, for a military couple, really cool couple. And they had these two just amazing retrievers that loved their walks and loved to go to the water. They had a lake right outside, their house. It was public, but she said to me, "These dogs will drag you. And if they start to do they want to bolt, don't you dare let them drag you. You drop the leash. You drop the leash. Otherwise, you're going to be dragged on the asphalt. And you're going to hurt. And if they decide to misbehave, which they've been trained not to do, but if they test you and they do this and go after a squirrel, that's their problem, not yours." And I was like, I can't do that. But she's right. You have to let go. At times, right?
Well, we're talking horses and dogs. There's a little bit of a difference.
I know, but you know what I mean?
And that's another whole podcast in itself about that.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just a lot more involved with that about why that happened and where you were sitting, and it's just so involved. But
well, cool. And that's the thing of this podcast is
training comes in. Training comes in that you know your horse well enough that you're prepared for even some surprises from time to time, and you know what to do when that happens. So you don't get hurt.
Well, Nancy's got a broken middle finger, and if she knew Christy beforehand, she wouldn't. Let's just put it at that. Christy, we're going to be doing, oh my gosh, we're actually getting there in this alphabet. Are you feeling it? It's a new
Yes, I
year.
am.
You're ready
Yes,
for a whole new year of
I
podcasts?
am. I
I
am.
mean, we're almost at the 1 year anniversary. You do know that, right? We're
Yes, it's
that
coming up.
close.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. We'll be back next month. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Christy, always giving such good advice, good information for all of us horse lovers and horse owners to use and get trained with, right? You're training us. So
That's
thank
right.
you so much, Christy. Everyone, again, keep up with Christy. She's here every second Saturday. She is here. So everyone go to the website, wdnhorse.com. Keep up with her there. Listen to the podcast from her website as well. It's very easy. It's right there. And keep up with her events because she travels the country. She does book signings. She does all kinds of things, a lot of horse expos. And she's also involved, like I said at the beginning of the show, with the Chief Joseph Trail Ride. And that is something, as you know, if you're a trail rider, that might be something you want to be part of. So check out her website and get in touch with her through that if that's something that piques your interest. And don't forget, she's got awesome books that we were just talking about on the show. So thank you so much, Christy.
Thank you, Lisa, and Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's ABCs of Horses featuring Christy Wood. You can keep up with Christy and learn more about her services and her books by going to her website, wdnhorse.com. Keep up with Big Blend Radio at bigblendradio.com.